Welcome back to Real Life Documentary, a channel that gives you tragic stories based on real-life happenings and stories. Please help us grow by subscribing to our channel. Now to today's episode on Real Life Documentary. The Carson family lived in an idyllic suburban neighborhood, with perfectly maintained lawns, white picket fences, and a peaceful atmosphere. Richard Carson, a respected accountant, and his wife Sophia, a cherished elementary school teacher, seemed to embody the classic American dream. They had two children, Anna and Tyler, who were their pride and joy. One chilly autumn morning, this picture-perfect life was shattered. Richard returned from a weekend fishing trip with his friends to find the house disturbingly quiet. The usual warmth was replaced by an eerie stillness. Calling out for Sophia brought no response, and a growing sense of dread gnawed at him as he made his way upstairs to their bedroom. There, Richard was met with a sight that would haunt him forever. Sophia was lying still on the bed, her skin pale, contrasting sharply with the dark, dried blood on the sheets. Panic set in as he tried to wake her, but it was too late. Sophia was gone. Frantic, Richard dialed 911, bringing police and paramedics to the scene. They confirmed what Richard feared most. Sophia was dead. Investigators began searching the house for clues, while Richard, still in shock, struggled to comprehend the questions being asked of him. Detective Sarah McMillan, a seasoned investigator known for her sharp instincts, took charge of the case. She quickly noted that there were no signs of forced entry, implying that Sophia likely knew her attacker. As the investigation progressed, Richard's alibi came under scrutiny. His fishing friends confirmed his whereabouts, placing him far from home at the time of Sophia's death. The community, shocked and in disbelief, had always viewed the Carsons as the perfect couple, deeply in love and devoted to their family. However, rumors of Richard's infidelity began to surface. Sophia's best friend, Laura, revealed that Sophia had confided in her about fears that Richard was being unfaithful. This revelation cast doubt on Richard, even though his alibi remained solid. The media quickly latched onto the story, framing it as a troubled marriage and a potential crime of passion. Pressure on the police to solve the case grew, but with Richard's airtight alibi, they found themselves at a standstill. That's when Sophia's sister, Megan, took matters into her own hands, hiring private investigator Jake Thompson to dig deeper into Sophia's suspicions and uncover the truth about her death. Richard and Sophia Carson's love story started in high school, where they were the quintessential sweethearts, inseparable and deeply in love. They went to college together, got married and started a family, seemingly living a perfect life filled with love, success, and two beautiful children. Richard's career as an accountant flourished, and Sophia found her calling as a teacher. They were well-liked in the community, actively involved in local events, and always seen together at neighborhood gatherings. However, beneath the surface, Sophia had growing suspicions about Richard's fidelity. It began with small things: late nights at the office, mysterious phone calls, and an emotional distance that was becoming harder to ignore. Sophia confided in her best friend, Laura, sharing her doubts and fears about Richard's potential affair. Laura had advised Sophia to confront Richard about her suspicions, but Sophia hesitated, not wanting to believe that the man she loved could betray her. As the months turned into years, her suspicions only grew stronger. She started secretly checking Richard's phone when he wasn't looking and scrutinizing his behavior for signs of infidelity. Her growing anxiety cast a shadow over what had once been a happy marriage. Sophia often questioned Laura, wondering if she was overreacting, but Laura could see how much the situation was weighing on her friend. One evening, Sophia discovered a lipstick stain on Richard's collar, and it was the final straw. She confronted him, demanding the truth. Richard denied everything, insisting it was a misunderstanding and claiming he was faithful and devoted. But Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something. Their arguments became more frequent and intense, with Sophia trapped in doubt and mistrust, while Richard grew increasingly frustrated with her accusations. In her darkest moments, Sophia began to question her own sanity. She considered hiring a private investigator, but was terrified of what she might uncover. Instead, she continued to lean on Laura for support. Laura, worried about Sophia's well-being, suggested that she document everything. Sophia began keeping a journal, recording every suspicious incident, every argument, and every moment of doubt. She hoped that one day, if the truth came out, she would have the evidence to confront Richard once and for all. Sophia's sister, Megan, was also aware of the tensions in the Carson household. Always close to Sophia, Megan had noticed the changes in her sister's demeanor. She urged Sophia to take action, but Sophia remained paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. As time passed, Sophia's suspicions became an all-consuming obsession. She couldn't escape the nagging thought that Richard was leading a double life. It was this unrelenting doubt that finally pushed Megan to hire Jake Thompson, determined to uncover the truth and seek justice for her sister. Meanwhile, Detective Sarah McMillan and her team worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading up to Sophia's death. They interviewed family, friends, and neighbors, trying to understand Sophia's life and uncover any motives for her murder. While Richard was cooperative, his solid alibi kept him from being a prime suspect. Desperate for answers, Megan placed her trust in private investigator Jake Thompson. Known for his persistence and ability to uncover hidden truths, Jake had a long-standing reputation for solving even the most challenging cases. When Megan explained her concerns about Richard's possible infidelity and Sophia's suspicions, Jake listened carefully, ready to take on the case and uncover what really happened to Sophia. Jake agreed to take the case, starting with a meticulous review of Sophia's journal. The entries revealed a woman plagued by doubt and fear, providing Jake with valuable insight into the unraveling of the Carson marriage. Sophia's detailed descriptions of Richard's behavior and her increasing anxiety highlighted the cracks in their seemingly perfect relationship. Jake's first step was to investigate Richard's background. He conducted surveillance, followed Richard to work, and closely monitored his interactions. Outwardly, Richard appeared to be a devoted father and professional, but Jake knew that appearances could be deceiving. Through interviews with Sophia's friends and colleagues, Jake learned about a woman who was deeply loved and admired for her kindness, dedication to her students, and devotion to her family. However, they also spoke of the noticeable changes in her over the past few years, particularly her growing stress and fear. Laura, Sophia's best friend, became a key source of information. She shared details about Sophia's suspicions and the confrontation she had with Richard over the years. Laura also mentioned a woman named Carla Mason, a former colleague of Richard's who had once been very close to him. Sophia had always been suspicious of Carla, believing that she might be involved in an affair with Richard. Jake's investigation led him to dig deeper into Carla Mason's background. He uncovered disturbing details. Carla had a history of unstable relationships and was known for her manipulative tendencies. She had left the company where she worked with Richard under mysterious circumstances, which raised red flags for Jake. His instincts told him that there was more to Carla's story. As Jake connected the dots, a troubling pattern began to emerge. Carla's presence in Richard's life, Sophia's escalating suspicions, and the sudden violent end to Sophia's life were all connected. Jake believed he was onto something significant, but he needed hard evidence to prove Carla's involvement. He ramped up his surveillance on Carla, carefully tracking her movements and speaking to people who knew her. His investigation began to paint a picture of a woman consumed by jealousy and obsession. It became clear that Carla viewed Sophia as an obstacle to her happiness with Richard, harboring deep resentment toward her. Jake knew he was getting closer to uncovering the truth, but would need more concrete evidence to tie Carla to Sophia's death. With the pieces of the puzzle falling into place, Jake Thompson prepared to confront Carla Mason, determined to uncover the full truth and seek justice for Sophia Carson. As an experienced private investigator, Jake was no stranger to the darker aspects of human behavior. He had dealt with cases of infidelity, fraud, and even murder, but the complexity of the Carson case was especially intriguing to him. As he dug deeper, the web of deceit and betrayal began to unravel. Richard Carson, who outwardly seemed to be the ideal husband and father, was not as innocent as he appeared. Jake's investigation confirmed that Richard had indeed been unfaithful, and his affair with Carla Mason was far more than a passing fling. Carla, a striking woman in her early 30s with a magnetic personality, had met Richard while they both worked at the same accounting firm. What began as harmless shared lunches and late-night conversations had escalated into a passionate, secretive relationship. Jake's surveillance provided him with photographic evidence of their meetings, capturing the intimacy between Richard and Carla, and revealing the depth of their connection. However, it wasn't just the affair that caught Jake's attention. It was Carla's behavior. She was possessive, obsessive, and seemed to be driven by a desire to replace Sophia in Richard's life. Jake's investigation into Carla's background revealed a troubled past. She had grown up in a dysfunctional family with an emotionally distant mother and had endured a series of abusive relationships. These experiences left Carla deeply scarred, emotionally unstable, and desperate for love and validation. When she met Richard, Carla saw him as her escape, a chance for a better life. She believed Richard could help her leave her painful past behind and offer her the happiness she craved. But as her obsession with him grew, so did her frustration when she realized Richard would never leave Sophia. Despite Richard's promises and assurances, he remained with his wife, further fueling Carla's resentment. In her mind, Sophia was the only thing standing between her and the life she believed she deserved. As her jealousy intensified, so did her dangerous resolve. Jake's breakthrough came when he uncovered a series of emails between Carla and Richard. In these messages, Carla expressed her growing anger and frustration, accusing Richard of leading her on and demanding that he leave Sophia. Richard's responses were apologetic but evasive, indicating his unwillingness to abandon his family. One email in particular stood out to Jake. It was sent just a week before Sophia's death. In this long, emotional message, Carla threatened to expose their affair if Richard didn't take action, and hinted at a plan to remove Sophia from the picture. It was a chilling foreshadowing of the tragedy that would soon follow. Armed with this damning evidence, Jake doubled down on his efforts to directly link Carla to the crime. He conducted interviews with her former colleagues and friends, uncovering a pattern of manipulative and unstable behavior. Many described Carla as someone willing to go to great lengths to get what she wanted, often using deceit and emotional manipulation to achieve her goals. Jake now had the pieces of the puzzle in front of him: Carla's obsession, Richard's reluctance to leave his wife, and the growing tension that had culminated in Sophia's untimely death. All that remained was finding the final proof to connect Carla directly to the murder, and Jake was determined to uncover it. One of Carla Mason's former colleagues provided Jake with a crucial piece of information. He recalled a disturbing conversation in which Carla had fantasized about a life with Richard, free from the burden of his marriage. She had spoken with a chilling detachment about the possibility of Sophia simply disappearing. At the time it seemed like an offhand remark, but now it took on a much more sinister meaning. Jake knew he was getting close to the truth. As Jake reviewed the evidence he had gathered, he prepared to confront Carla. He needed her to crack under the weight of her guilt and confess. Carla's affair with Richard had begun innocently enough but had spiraled into a dangerous obsession. She had fallen deeply for him, seeing Richard as her way out of a life filled with loneliness and emotional pain. However, as their relationship grew more intense, so did Carla's jealousy and her determination to replace Sophia in Richard's life. The affair had started 3 years earlier at an office holiday party. Richard, ever the charmer, had noticed Carla sitting alone and approached her. They bonded quickly over their shared frustrations with life and work. Richard confided in her about the troubles in his marriage, while Carla opened up about her longing for true love. Their connection was instant, and before long, it had evolved from casual lunches to secret dinners and rendezvous at hotels. While Richard worked hard to keep the affair hidden, Carla's feelings only deepened. She began fantasizing about a future where they could be together openly, without the shadow of Sophia standing between them. But reality for Carla was harsh. Every time Richard returned home to his wife, it fueled her resentment. Sophia was the obstacle that stood in the way of the life she wanted. As Carla's jealousy intensified, so did her erratic behavior. She began calling Richard incessantly, demanding to know where he was and who he was with. Her desperation grew with each passing day as she realized that Richard had no intention of leaving Sophia. The mounting frustration pushed her to the edge, and in her mind, there was only one solution to her problem: removing Sophia from the picture entirely. Carla's obsession with Richard spiraled out of control as she became increasingly possessive. She monitored his social media, showed up unannounced at his office, and demanded more of his time. Initially flattered by her attention, Richard soon felt trapped by her constant neediness. The breaking point came when Carla discovered that Richard had lied about spending a weekend with Sophia. Furious, she confronted him, demanding that he choose between her and his wife. Caught off guard by her intensity, Richard tried to calm her down, promising to leave Sophia, though deep down, he knew he couldn't follow through. As Carla's obsession grew, so did her hatred for Sophia. She began stalking her, learning her routines and watching the Carson house from the shadows late at night. Each time Carla saw Sophia living the life she craved, her resentment deepened. Carla's plan to eliminate Sophia developed over several months. Her thoughts became darker, driven by a desire to rid herself of her rival. The email she sent to Richard threatening to expose their affair was her last attempt to force him to act. But when Richard didn't, Carla decided to take matters into her own hands. On the night of the murder, Carla knew Richard was away on his fishing trip. She had meticulously planned everything, from disabling the security cameras to ensuring she left no trace of her presence. Using a spare key Richard had given her, Carla broke into the Carson house and moved silently through the darkened rooms. Sophia was asleep when Carla entered the bedroom. Seeing her peaceful and unaware fueled Carla's rage. With a knife clutched tightly in her hand, she approached the bed. Sophia woke up just as Carla lunged, but it was too late. The attack was swift and brutal, fueled by years of pent-up anger and jealousy. After it was done, Carla stood over Sophia's lifeless body, a twisted mixture of triumph and horror washing over her. She had removed the obstacle to her happiness. But as the adrenaline faded, the gravity of what she had done began to sink in. Panicking, she wiped down everything she had touched, making sure not to leave any evidence. Then she slipped out of the house, disappearing into the night. Carla believed she had committed the perfect crime, but Jake Thompson's investigation unraveled her carefully constructed alibi. His surveillance and interviews exposed the depth of her obsession and the extreme lengths she had gone to be with Richard. The evidence he gathered painted a chilling picture of a woman consumed by jealousy, willing to kill to get what she wanted. As Jake prepared to confront Carla, he knew her fragile psyche would be her undoing. The weight of her guilt, combined with the overwhelming evidence against her, would be too much for her to bear. It was only a matter of time before she broke under the pressure and confessed to her heinous crime. Jake Thompson meticulously built an airtight case against Carla Mason, knowing that every detail had to be carefully examined to secure a conviction. His investigation had already exposed Carla's obsessive behavior, her deep resentment toward Sophia, and her extreme measures to be with Richard. Now Jake needed to consolidate all the evidence. The first step was to organize the surveillance footage and photographs he had taken of Carla and Richard. These images clearly depicted their intimate relationship, disproving any potential claims Carla might make about their affair being over. These visual proofs were key in establishing Carla's motive for the crime. Next, Jake focused on the emails between Carla and Richard. The threatening messages Carla had sent, demanding that Richard leave Sophia or face consequences, were damning evidence of her intent. Jake printed out the emails, highlighting sections where Carla hinted at drastic measures if she didn't get her way. In addition to digital evidence, Jake gathered testimonies from Carla's former colleagues and acquaintances. One witness, a close friend of Carla, reluctantly shared a conversation they had just days before Sophia's murder. In it, Carla had expressed a disturbing desire for Sophia to disappear and made offhand remarks about how easy it would be. This testimony strongly suggested premeditation. The most crucial evidence came from the crime scene itself. Jake worked closely with Detective Sarah McMillan, sharing his findings and collaborating on the investigation. Forensic analysis revealed traces of Carla's DNA on the knife used to kill Sophia, as well as on the bedroom door handle. Despite her attempts to clean up, Carla had made mistakes that linked her directly to the crime. A partial fingerprint on the windowsill where Carla had entered the house, while not a perfect match, further implicated her. With physical, digital, and testimonial evidence in hand, Jake turned his attention to Carla's social circle. He interviewed neighbors, friends, and casual acquaintances to build a psychological profile. One neighbor recalled seeing Carla's car parked near the Carson house multiple times, further confirming her stalking behavior. The final and most surprising piece of the puzzle came from Richard. Overcome with guilt and realizing the extent of Carla's obsession, Richard decided to cooperate fully with the investigation. His testimony added another layer of truth to the case, corroborating the evidence Jake had already gathered. With everything in place, Jake had constructed a compelling case that painted a clear picture of Carla's obsession, jealousy, and premeditated actions, ensuring justice for Sophia Carson. Richard's additional emails and messages from Carla provided further evidence of their affair, corroborating Jake Thompson's investigation. Richard's testimony was vital in confirming the timeline of events and solidifying Carla's motives for the murder of Sophia Carson. Jake presented the case to Detective Sarah McMillan, who was impressed by the thoroughness and precision of the investigation. Together, they compiled a comprehensive report detailing Carla's obsessive behavior, her motive, and the overwhelming evidence against her. When the case was ready for trial, Carla was arrested at her apartment. The shock on her face revealed her belief that she had escaped justice. As the police led her away in handcuffs, Jake felt a sense of accomplishment. He had uncovered the truth and ensured that Sophia Carson's killer would be brought to justice. The trial moved swiftly. Carla's defense argued that she had been framed, but the evidence against her was irrefutable. The threatening emails, forensic proof, and witness testimonies painted a clear picture of a woman consumed by jealousy and willing to murder to achieve her desires. Carla Mason was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Although Richard was not criminally charged, the affair left a lasting stain on his reputation, tearing his family apart. The Carson children, Anna and Tyler, faced a future without their mother, and a father whose actions had indirectly contributed to her death. In the quiet aftermath of the trial, the family struggled to rebuild their lives amidst the overwhelming grief and loss. Megan, Sophia's sister, stepped in to provide stability for Anna and Tyler. She moved into the Carson home, becoming their guardian and offering them the support they needed during the darkest time of their lives. Her bond with the children deepened, and together they worked through their shared grief, honoring Sophia's memory with the love and support she had always shown them. Laura, Sophia's best friend, also played a key role in the family's healing process. She organized memorial events celebrating Sophia's life, ensuring that her memory continued to shine in the community. The local community rallied around the Carson family, showing support and love, especially for the children. Burdened by guilt and remorse, Richard sought therapy to confront his actions and the devastating consequences they had caused. He knew he could never undo the pain that resulted from his affair with Carla, but he hoped to find redemption through self-reflection and accountability. As the years passed, Anna and Tyler grew up, carrying their mother's memory with them. With Megan's love and guidance, they pursued their dreams, determined to honor Sophia's legacy through their own achievements. Though they bore the emotional scars of their loss, they found a way forward, cherishing the positive memories of their family. The Carson case, with all its heartbreak and tragedy, became a powerful reminder to the community of both the fragility of life and the strength that could be found in unity, resilience, and love.